basic handling training flight. Today, you're taking the A10C up for a spin. In this lesson, we'll perform a standard takeoff followed by some basic maneuvers at medium altitude. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin. Things will happen rather quickly once you begin to roll, so let's review the takeoff sequence. After a final check of the instruments, you'll begin to roll at max engine power. Your main focus will be on using nose wheel steering to maintain the aircraft on runway center during the roll. Once the rudders become effective above 50 knots, you will disengage nose wheel steering. At 120 knots, begin to raise the nose by gently pulling back on the stick and setting a pitch angle of 10 degrees on the ADI. This will be a safety critical element of takeoff. Pulling up too fast can lead to striking the aircraft's tail on the runway or lifting off with too much angle of attack, leading to a stall and possible crash. Once the aircraft is safely airborne and climbing, raise the landing gear and flaps. Accelerate to 180 knots and maintain the speed in the climb to altitude. Prior to starting the takeoff roll, a number of final checks are performed to ensure the aircraft's safe operation. Ensure the anti-skid switch is set to on. If not already done, turn on pitot tube heating on the environmental control panel. Now hold down the wheel brakes by pressing and holding the W key and increase throttle to 85% core RPM. Monitor your flight and engine instruments for any abnormalities. Look around the cockpit and check the caution lights panel to ensure no malfunctions are reported. Press the spacebar key to proceed once everything checks out. You are now ready for takeoff. Take a note of your current heading as you will maintain this after takeoff. To begin the roll, release the wheel brakes and advance the throttles to max. Use careful nose wheel steering commands to keep the aircraft running straight down the center of the runway. Press the HOTAS pinky button or insert to disable nose wheel steering. Gently pull back on the stick to raise the nose to 10 degrees pitch on the ADI and hold it. Maintain 10 degrees of pitch. Raise the landing gear by pressing G and the flaps by pressing left shift plus F. The landing gear horn will sound while the landing gear is in transition. Adjust your pitch angle to maintain 180 knots indicated airspeed in the climb, and check the vertical velocity indicator to monitor your rate of climb. Your desired rate of climb will depend on a number of factors, including the aircraft weight, range, and altitude of the steer point. However, 180 knots indicated airspeed is a good average climb speed.
Batumi. Hog 1-1. Request landing. Hog 1-1. Batumi. Clear to land. Runway 13. Wind 240 at 3 meters per second.
Altitude, altitude.
Fly the aircraft to keep the pitch and bank steering bar centered on the ADI. Monitor your airspeed to maintain approximately 120 knots. Batumi approach is now transferring us to Batumi Terminal Control for landing clearance. To request landing, press the HOTAS mic switch forward command or left alt and num plus keys to open the VHF AM radio command menu. Then press F1 to request permission to land. Once cleared, press the escape key to exit the radio menu. The AOA indexer is indicating your speed is high for the approach. Increase AOA by pitching the nose up or reduce engine power to slow down. If need be, you can open the speed brakes by pressing and holding the left control and B keys. To retract the speed brakes, press and hold the left shift and B keys. As you approach the runway threshold, the pitch steering bar on the ADI might begin to oscillate slightly. Do not chase the needle. Maintain the glide slope to the touchdown point. As you near to just a few feet above the runway, reduce engine power to idle and gently pull the stick slightly back to flare the aircraft. Touchdown. Now lower the nose for nose gear touchdown. Use the rudder or X and Y keys to keep the aircraft running down the center of the runway. Engage the wheel brakes by pressing and holding the W key. Once your speed is reduced to below 70 knots, engage nose wheel steering NWS by pressing the HOTAS pinky button or the insert key on the keyboard. Taxi off the runway using one of the taxiways to the left. When taxiing, avoid holding down the wheel brakes while turning at the same time. Keep the ground speed under control to avoid damaging the tires, gear mechanics, or tipping the aircraft to either side. Follow the taxiway line to the parking spot. Looks like the crew chief is on his way over there now. We'll now shut down the aircraft. First, set the anti-skid and pedal tube heat switches to off. Turn off the ILS receiver by right-clicking the left frequency dial knob. Turn off the IFC and the kick cue on the AHCP. Turn off the left and right MFCDs. Turn off the countermeasure system. Retract the flaps to the up position by pressing left shift and F twice. Turn off the IGE and CDU on the right console. Spool down the left engine by pressing the right Alt and N keys. Monitor the EMI panel to check for a safe spool down. The core RPM should drop down to 0 and the ITT to approximately 200 degrees. Anticipate a slight heat soak back as the engine stops. Now spool down the right engine by pressing the right control and N keys. Set the inverter switch on the electrical panel to off. Turn off the battery. Turn off the VHF AM, UHF, and VHF FM radios. This concludes the landing training flight. Press the escape key to exit the mission.